Okay guys, let me tell you what we're doing. Because I'm sitting at the house all day long and I have so much time to think, I was like, who is one of my favorite YouTubers? And I was like, duh, Bailey Sarian. Bernie? Yeah, we love her. Anyway, so then I got to thinking, she does those murder mystery and makeup Mondays. So to put a spin on that, I could watch that, do the makeup like she's doing it, and we'll stop as she gives pertinent information about the killer so that at the end we can give a diagnosis. Now, of course, these are not going to be real diagnoses. I am able to diagnose people, but these aren't my patients, thank God. These are murderers. So this is all for entertainment purposes. Please, no one take anything too seriously. And let's get started. I'm excited.
Hi guys, how are you today? My name is Bailey Sarian and today is Monday, which means it's Murder, Mystery, and Makeup Monday. Shana shana, shana shana, shana shana, shana shana.
Okay, as a side note, I didn't mean to like wear my hair like Bailey, but like we've got this whole thing going on and I'm just going with it, okay? By the way, she is so gorgeous. Bailey, if you're watching this, you're fabulous. I just want you to be my best friend. Okay, anyway, let's go.
So today's story is a little short. I mean, kind of, not really. Hear me out. I went down this rabbit hole of child killers. I know, I'm disturbing. But I stay up late into the night and I just like find these articles and I start reading them. I went down this rabbit hole of just like children who are horrendous, awful, great birth control. So I thought I would tell a story about Brenda Spencer. I didn't know who she was. I had no idea that this was even like this happened. So maybe it's new to you as well. Also, all of the products I use will be in the description box below. But other than that, let's get into what Brenda Spencer has going on. So Brenda Spencer, okay, she was born in 1962. She lived in San Diego or San Carlos, which is like a neighborhood of San Diego. So San Diego. When the story takes place, she was 16 years old.
So this is important. When we start to do a diagnosis, we do what is called a biopsychosocial assessment. So this is part of the person's history, so we need to note that.
So at 16 years old, she was 5'2". She had bright red hair. Her parents had separated when she was pretty young, and she ended up, I mean, she's already young in the story, so she's just young in general. So her parents separated and she ended up living with her father. So his name is Wallace, and they lived in San Diego still and right across the street from Grover Cleveland Elementary School. And they lived in poverty. I mean, Brenda would say that they didn't have any furniture in the house. They had one mattress in the home and that's where they slept. They shared the bed. There was beer cans all throughout the home as well because Wallace was a drinker. And then there wasn't much else like in the home. It was just a mattress. Wallace, the father, he wasn't around much. He was an alcoholic. He was verbally abusive. And her mother was just completely disconnected. She wanted nothing to do with Brenda or her ex at all. She remarried and like started a new family. So in school, Brenda was like the bad girl. She didn't want to be there. She was either ditching or like going to smoke cigarettes, would brag about smoking weed or doing drugs or drinking. Acquaintances said Brenda expressed hostility towards policemen and had spoken about shooting one and had talked about doing something big so she can get on television. So Brenda hated school, right? And she just like had no interest in it, but she actually fell in love with photography and she wanted.
Okay, another thing that we need to note, so aggression, I don't know if it's aggression against authority, but aggression.
Work or like her hobby in school. And a lot of people would say like she could have done something with that. She attended Patrick Henry High School, and then one teacher was interviewed would say that she was always falling asleep in class and she was just always like giving problems. I think there was always someone in our classes, like in high school or whatnot, middle school, that was always just kind of like the quote unquote like problem child, which is sad because, you know, like it was probably something that was really going on at home. And later it was found out when she was in custody. We'll get to it, but I'm kind of fast forwarding. But later when it was found out when she was in custody, they did testing on her to see like. I
gotta catch up to Bailey. Bailey's so good at doing her makeup, talking at the same time, and I'm not.
Lobe in her brain. She said she fell off of a bicycle when she was like 6 or 7 and hit her head really bad. And when you have damage to your temporal lobe, it mainly revolves around hearing and selective hearing, or listening, selective listening. It receives sensory information such as sounds and speech from the ears. It is also key to being able to comprehend or understand meaningful speech, helping us compute what someone's saying. Like if it doesn't work, our temporal lobe, it means that we can't comprehend words. So they think that that was important.
Okay, so let's note this. There was a traumatic head injury. I don't know if it was traumatic brain injury as a child.
Our brain is nuts, man. So Brenda ended up going to a continuation school because of how many truancies she had. So she went to the continuation school, and when she was there in 1978, one of the faculty members at the school would talk to Brenda, and Brenda would express how she was very depressed and she wanted to kill herself. The faculty member had to tell Brenda's father about this, but instead Brenda's father just denied it. She's not depressed. What are you talking about? Like, she's fine. Do your job, pretty much. So he just didn't take it seriously. I'm sure in like 1978, it was a different time. So when they found out someone was depressed, it was probably like, just go outside. You're fine. Walk it off. So Brenda's father...
Okay, so we'll note this. So this is adolescent depressive symptoms.
Brenda would say later on, like all throughout her childhood and her teenage years, she was really depressed and she tried to kill herself on numerous occasions.
Okay, another thing to note would be substance abuse and also attempts to kill herself in the past.
On pills or drinking her dad's alcohol that he would just leave around, and it would make her more depressed because whenever she tried to kill herself, she would fail. Like she would wake up and it would make her upset because like she wasn't good at anything. This is how she felt. She wasn't good at anything. She wasn't even good at...
She's home alone all the time. She's having to kind of fend for herself. There may be some neglect issues. Well, obviously there are neglect issues, but we don't know how much all of these things affected whatever. I don't even know what the crime is yet, so we're learning together.
Yeah, she had like no guidance or anyone to look up to, so sad. So Brenda, who was known to hunt birds in the neighborhood, she was arrested for shooting out the windows of Cleveland Elementary with a BB gun. She said she was trying to hunt these birds. And then she also got arrested for burglary. She broke into someone's house. We don't know why. But after that, she was on probation and she had an officer. And in December, she got a psychiatric evaluation. It was arranged by her probation officer. And he recommended that Brenda be admitted to a mental hospital for her depression because she had expressed how depressed she was. But her father had to give permission for her to go, and he refused to give her permission. So I feel like the people around her are seeing the signs that she's not doing well, and they're trying to get her help, but her father is just refusing any kind of help for her. So then Christmas 1978 rolls around, and Brenda just wanted a radio. So she tells her father that's what she wants, and then on Christmas Day she gets her gift from her father. Sorry, I'm not laughing, I'm just like laughing in disbelief, but he ends up getting her .22 caliber rifle with a telescopic sight and 500 rounds of ammunition. Perfect for a 16-year-old. Love that.
Okay, so we'll note that access to and possible proficiency with guns.
So then Monday, January 29th, 1979 rolls around. Brenda doesn't feel well, so she decides to stay home from school that day. Her father wasn't home. He was out doing whatever he does. It was still early that morning, like there was a elementary school across the street. She grabs her rifle. She's sitting by the window. She sees all the kids outside. And all these kids would wait outside the gate. And then the principal would come, open up the gate, and then all the kids would go into the school. Brenda decided to take her rifle and point it outside the window. And sadly, she started shooting at the kids and the principal and anyone she could that were just standing around. She ended up injuring about 8 students. She ended up killing a faculty member that was just trying to protect and help the children. Then she killed a custodian that was trying to help the faculty member that she shot, and the principal got shot and he ended up passing away. Somebody had called the police. A police officer finally shows up, and when he shows up, he was shot in the neck. Brenda ended up firing 30 rounds or over 30 rounds. And then after she fired the 30 rounds, she ended up barricading herself inside her home for nearly 7 hours. While she was in her home, she had a telephone conversation with a journalist who reported why she had done it. And when Brenda was asked why she did it, I kid you not, her response is gonna piss you off. Her response was, "I don't like Mondays. This livens it up." When I read that, I was like, what? Excuse me? She later also spoke with police negotiators, telling that those she had shot made easy targets and that she was going to come out shooting. After being in her home for 7 hours, she eventually came out and she was arrested, obviously. Police officers found beer and whiskey bottles all throughout the home when they went inside, but Brenda did not appear to be intoxicated at the time of her arrest. Brenda was tried as an adult and she pled guilty to 2 counts of murder and assault with a deadly weapon. She was sentenced to prison for 25 years to life, and while in prison, Brenda was diagnosed with epilepsy.
So anything medically, sorry Bailey, anything medical related we need to note too.
In 1993, she was eligible for parole. I know. What? She killed people. How is she eligible for parole? The legal system makes absolutely no sense to me. But she was eligible for parole. And this is where, like, Brenda starts to tell more of what happened, like why she did it, whatever. In the parole hearing, that's where she said, like, her father was molesting her since day one. Like, he had been molesting her all of her life. And
okay, so child sexual abuse, we will note that as well. I just put on some mascara because I wasn't really prepared for this, so I don't have any strip lashes, but whatever. This isn't really about the makeup, this is about the diagnosis. I'll let Bailey do the makeup part because she's the expert.
Some weed. That's kind of what made her do it, which I thought was a stupid excuse, but whatever. And her father he didn't deny these things. The parole board chairman said that she had never made these allegations before. She didn't know, like, if it's true or not. They don't know what to believe, and they kind of, like, highly doubted it. And then in 2009, the parole board ruled Brenda would be denied parole, and she would not be considered for the next 10 years. And so what that means is, in 10 years, she would be And so what that means is, in 10 years, she would be eligible for parole again. Guess what, bitches? 2019 is here. So Brenda is eligible for parole this year, 2019. I'm not sure when though. I'm very curious. I found the transcript from her 2005 parole hearing, and I was just kind of like reading what she had to say because I was curious. I mean, she was 16 when she was arrested, and she's like hella old now. Math. And Brenda had said that, like, you know, she was severely depressed. She wanted to get help for her depression. She had a father who was abusing her, and that she just wanted to die. That was her reasoning. She said she took a bunch of pills that day. She was trying to kill herself. And then she decided that she saw, like, police officers outside of the school. So she decided that she was going to take the gun and try to shoot at the police officers, not like hitting them, but like at them to get their attention, so then that the police officers grab out their guns and then shoot back and kill her. Like, that was her plan, because she wanted to die, but she was unsuccessful at killing herself. So she thought, maybe I could get these police officers to shoot me instead. And she's saying this back in 2005. So it's like, obviously, you and I know that makes logically no sense. You have a gun if you want to kill yourself. For Brenda, I mean, I'm speaking hypothetically. I'm speaking hypothetically. I'm not saying anybody should do this, but like, you would just take the gun and you would shoot yourself. Like, you can mess that up, but like, for the most part, come on. You know, if her goal was really to get shot that day, she could have just done it herself. She wouldn't have used a police officer to try and shoot her. It just doesn't make any sense. But that was her reasoning, and she like stands by that, and it was just really stupid and frustrating. The wife of the principal, the one that passed away, I think this was an interview from like 2009 area, so I'm not sure like where she's at to this day. Let me just line this really quick. But back then, she had... Why do I try and talk when I put on lipstick? Okay, so the wife, for the parole hearing, she made like a videotape expressing that she did not want Brenda to get out. And the videotape also showed that this wife's house, like it's still exactly the same as when her husband left that morning. Like this was many years later. And she hasn't touched any of his stuff. Like everything is exactly the same, and how she's struggling and how Brenda took her husband away from him and like ruined her life, which I completely understand. Does not want her to get out, and that definitely like helped persuade them. Well, it didn't really help Brenda's case at all. I'm curious to know like if this year, if she's gonna do that same thing. I really hope that she's doing okay, this wife, because she seemed like she was really struggling, as any of us would. When somebody's house turns into just like a memorial, it's just more sad, because you know that they're having a very hard time moving forward with their life, and they're kind of just stuck in this time. Yeah, it's just really sad. I'm curious to see where she's at now. So later on, Brenda was also diagnosed with schizophrenia and depression, and she's...
Important to note any previous diagnoses that the patient may have reported to you. Obviously, you're not going to know unless they tell you, but if you know, we'll put that into consideration.
Still is in the prison. She's up for parole this year, so I'm curious to know what's going to happen. I hope she doesn't get out, because when I was reading the interview with Brenda, it seemed like she just really didn't understand like what she did. She's had a lot of time sitting there and think to step up and have ownership of what she did, but instead she just kind of deflected. But she never once expressed that she was like genuinely sorry, which is like, God, it's just some people don't get it, right? It's so confusing. But like I had no...
Okay, so according to Bailey, she's not really remorseful. That's what I got from that. But like
she's up for parole like this year. This was even a story. I don't know. I had no idea this happened. To this day, I believe the school actually got torn down and a housing complex had gotten put up, but they did put up a in memoriam sign in the area in San Diego. Her father ended up dying, and her mother, nobody knows where the hell she's at. She wasn't claiming that. That was her daughter. My question to you is, when a child gets arrested, because she was a child, do you think they should stay in prison all their lives, or should they be able to get out? Like, should there be a max sentencing? Because when you're a child, you do a lot of... I mean, you don't kill people, but like, I don't know. I know you're a child.
Okay, this is important to note too. So we can either decide to diagnose her as a minor or as an adult, because I would take different things into consideration if I were to diagnose her as a minor, but I'm gonna say we're gonna diagnose her as an adult. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take all of our clues and tips that Bailey so generously gave us, and we're gonna put something together. Guys so much for being here today, and thank you to Bailey Sarian for making a cameo in my video, even though I didn't really have her permission and she probably doesn't want to be in this video, but I adore her, and please go check out her channel. I will link that down below. And guys, go out and give someone a compliment today. It'll make you feel good, it'll make them feel good, and until next time, I'll see you guys later. Bye.